As Vrax was dragged away after his assassination attempt, he shouted curses at General Zax and the High Council. "You are all deluded fools if you think these humans can be reasoned with. When the streets of our cities run red with Zyronian blood at human hands, you will see I was right." The general watched Vrax disappear with sadness in his eyes. Perhaps if Vrax's pain could have been eased earlier, such dark hatred would not have consumed him. But the general knew nothing could be done for him now except exile. Turning to the emperor, the general bowed solemnly. "I grieve for the suffering that turned Councillor Vrax down this dark path. But we cannot let such fear and mistrust poison our efforts now. The time has come to start anew, with open minds, open hearts, and open hands extended in friendship to the people of Earth." Turning to the emperor, the general bowed solemnly. "I grieve for the suffering that turned Councillor Vrax down this dark path. But we cannot let such fear and mistrust poison our efforts now. The time has come to start anew, with open minds, open hearts, and open hands extended in friendship to the people of Earth." The emperor nodded. "You speak wisdom, General, yet it pains me to think of the trials young Vrax endured." He sighed heavily. "I should have foreseen the damage the Garganthian attack would inflict on him." The general looked up with respectful sympathy. "You cannot blame yourself, Your Eminence. The actions of our enemies are not yours to bear." Vrax was born into a prestigious Zyronian family that had long produced high-ranking leaders in the Empire. However, his childhood was marked by tragedy when his home city was attacked by a ruthless alien species called the Garganthians. The Garganthians were known for their brutality and lack of mercy. When they invaded Vrax's home city, they laid waste to the defenses and slaughtered civilians without hesitation. The young Vrax witnessed his own parents cut down before his eyes by the Garganthian invaders 26 cycles ago. The rumbling explosions grew louder as young Vrax huddled in the corner of his family's basement shelter. His heart hammered in his chest, clutching his toy to his chest. Where were his parents? Why had his nannies shoved him down here in such a panic? Muffled screams and firing erupted right above, followed by heavy footsteps. Vrax whimpered, shrinking further into the corner's shadows. Then the shelter doors wrenched open with an awful screeching. Vrax cried out as harsh alien faces appeared, speaking in snarls and guttural tongue. Garganthians. Monstrous invaders from his worst nightmares come to life. They spotted Vrax and descended on him, cruel insectoid limbs hoisting him up roughly. Vrax wailed for his parents, but the Garganthians only cackled, their mandibles dripping with fresh blood. They dragged Vrax outside, where the smoke and chaos of battle reigned. Vrax saw to his horror the slain bodies of household guards and staff littering the ground. The lead Garganthian barked orders, and Vrax was dragged up to witness the putrid alien detonate explosives on the statues of Vrax's ancestors. Each monumental visage came crashing down, the legacy of Vrax's lineage collapsing to ruin. Outside, the battle was getting more and more intense. "Hold the line!" Vrax's father roared as his imperial blade clashed against alien claws. "We swore an oath to the Emperor to defend this city with our lives!" He pivoted fluidly to decapitate an attacking Garganthian. Vrax's mother fought alongside him, her own blade dancing gracefully. "The palace has fallen!" she called over the din. "These monsters will not stop until all of Zyron burns!" Vrax's father grimaced as more insectoid invaders flooded the streets. "Then we shall make them pay in blood for every inch." Back to back, the brave couple stood surrounded, but unbroken. Their hallowed blades sang in unison as they cut down endless chitinous horrors. Vrax's mother risked a glance back at her beloved. "If this is to be our last dawn together, I die fulfilled, having you by my side, my heart." Vrax's father reached to touch her hand tenderly. We shall meet again in the celestial realm, my soul. But first, a final stand worthy of legends. Their blades carved furious arcs of light against the pressing dark. But the Garganthian numbers were unrelenting. Slowly, they flanked the stalwart pair. "Vrax," his mother whispered between attacks. "Our son, if we should fall—" "No!" his father shouted. "Have faith, he is safely away. We must believe." His words faltered, eyes glistening. Vrax's mother caught an alien blast meant for her husband, crying out as it seared through her armor. Vrax's father howled in rage, cutting down her attacker, but the line was broken. The Garganthians swarmed as one, wrenching away the couple's blades. As they were forced to kneel shackled, Vrax's father murmured a prayer. "Dear child, may the light of the divine protect you now. Be strong, be just, forgive." "No!" Vrax cried out as harsh alien faces appeared, speaking in snarls. Garganthians! They descended on him, cruel limbs seizing him roughly. Vrax screamed and thrashed wildly. "Mother! Father! No!" Tears streamed down his face as the sounds of his parents' agony faded to silence. His whole world burned down before his eyes. The Garganthians only laughed with sadistic glee at Vrax's pain. In that moment, hatred and despair overwhelmed the young Zironian's spirit. His innocence died forever amongst the smoldering ashes. Vrax collapsed in anguish as his parents were executed before his eyes. The Garganthians cackled with cruel delight, only to be drowned out by the sudden thundering of war drums. The Imperial Guardians charged onto the battlefield, weapons ablaze with righteous fury. At their head rode the Emperor atop a majestic armored beast, his ornate armor gleaming. With a swing of his crackling scepter, the Emperor rent a path straight towards the Garganthian commander holding Vrax. Seeing the Imperial onslaught, the Garganthian forces scrambled to mount a defense. They turned their plasma cannons on the approaching line of Guardians. Green and orange beams lit up the sky as volleys were exchanged. The Emperor was relentless, cutting down aliens left and right with sweeping blows of his scepter. Around him, Guardians wielding ion blades and glittering polearms clashed against the Garganthian invaders in a symphony of violence. The Garganthian commander released Vrax and drew his own vibroglaive, bearing jagged teeth. The Emperor cut down alien after alien with sweeping blows from his scepter. But the Garganthian ranks seemed endless. Sensing his guardians tiring, the Emperor pressed on towards the enemy commander. There, atop a mound of rubble, stood Galeth, encircled by his elite warriors. The Garganthian captain's armor was stained purple with the blood of Imperial citizens. He sneered upon seeing the Emperor's approach. "Face me, coward!" Galeth roared. "Or do you only fight when your underlings die for you first?" The Emperor met Galeth's baleful glare unflinchingly. "I do not require others to fight my battles, invader. But let us settle this with honor, a duel with none to intervene." Galeth's eyes narrowed. Then he began laughing, a harsh, grating sound. "As you wish, old fool. We shall see who the gods favor this day." The Garganthian stepped forward as his guards cleared a space. The Emperor strode to meet Galeth, scepter crackling. Around them, Garganthians and Guardians alike ceased fighting to watch the standoff unfold. Galeth hefted his massive glaive. "When I stand victorious over your corpse, your world will fully know despair." The Emperor settled into a battle stance, energy coiling around his scepter. "Evil shall not triumph this day, monster." With twin roars, the two clashed in a storm of sparks and fury. No quarter given, none asked. The Emperor's scepter met Galoth's vibroglaive with a resounding clang that echoed through the war-torn streets. The Garganthian captain towered over the aged Emperor, but the monarch stood unfazed. Their weapons crashed in a burst of sparks. Galoth bore down with savage strikes, forcing the Emperor back. "You are weak," Galoth spat. "I shall mount your head in my quarters." The Emperor parried calmly. "Your arrogance blinds you." Galoth's glaive smashed craters in the earth. The Emperor rolled away, wincing. Rising, he gripped his scepter. Though my body declines, my spirit endures. Energy surged through the Emperor's veins. Their weapons sang. Galeth laughed cruelly. This world will kneel to the Garganthian Empire. Never, the Emperor shouted, redoubling his assault. Ziran will remain free. Galoth pressed the attack, bringing all his hulking strength to bear. Each hammering blow drove the Emperor back, his boots scraping across rubble. The Emperor parried skillfully but felt his muscles straining against Galeth's relentless assault. Sensing weakness, Galeth rained savage strikes upon the Emperor, who struggled to keep pace. You are old and feeble, Galeth taunted. I shall crush you. The Emperor called upon his connection to the divine source, channeling pulses of pure energy through his scepter. The righteous draw strength from within, the Emperor responded. Empowered, the Emperor went on the offensive, unleashing fluid sequences of crackling thrusts and arcing swings. Galoth snarled as the scepter glanced off his armor, leaving glowing scorch marks. Curse you! Galoth roared, enraged by the Emperor's renewed vigor. But the Garganthian stamina was endless. Galeth unleashed a series of crushing overhead smashes, bringing the Emperor to one knee. Galoth laughed. On your knees before your conqueror! The Emperor realized Galeth was merely toying with him now, savoring his domination. But the Emperor would not yield. I will not fall, the Emperor gasped defiantly through the pain. He began summoning his power once again. In his arrogance, Galeth did not see the Emperor subtly twitch his fingers. The scepter tore through the air back into the Emperor's outstretched grip, just as Galeth raised his glaive high. For the glory of Gargantha, Galeth proclaimed, savoring his triumph. Not today, monster, the Emperor declared calmly. As Galeth swung his glaive down with all his might, the Emperor swiftly brought the scepter up in both hands, bracing himself. The weapons collided in a concussive blast. For a moment, Galeth was stunned that his killing blow had been blocked. In that instant of confusion, the Emperor twisted the scepter with a roar, angling the crackling tip up under Galeth's armor. The scepter's point burned through Galeth's chest in a spray of sizzling blood and smoke. The Garganthian captain's eyes bulged in shock and pain. My victory was ordained! Galoth gurgled in disbelief, sinking to his knees. The Emperor drove the scepter deeper, resolve steeling his aged limbs. Your wickedness ends here, he declared. With a final wrenching blast of energy, the Emperor wrenched the scepter free, eviscerating Galeth from within. The Garganthian warlord toppled back, mouth agape in death. Weary but unbroken, the Emperor rose over his conquered foe. By faith and fortitude, evil had been repelled once again. The Emperor silently gave thanks amidst the chaos, determined to build a just peace from this bloodshed. Around him, the shattered Garganthian invaders turned and fled from the relentless Imperial Guardians. Ziron had endured. The smoke still billowed from the rubble of his family's estate as young Vrax stood numbly surrounded by Imperial Guardians. The Emperor approached solemnly, his battle armor stained with Garganthian blood. Kneeling before Vrax, the Emperor spoke gently. Child, though we arrived too late to save your parents, I swear to you now, I will ensure you are cared for and trained to honor their legacy. Vrax gazed up with red-rimmed eyes, speaking with bitterness beyond his years. Why did you not come sooner? My mother and father devoted their lives to you, and still you failed them. The Emperor winced inwardly, but maintained his composure. The ways of war are clouded even to my sight. But Mira and Laetus died heroes protecting our people. He laid a gauntleted hand on Vrax's shoulder. They would not want their loss to embitter you. The path of hatred leads only to more pain. Vrax tensed under that heavy hand, resenting this aged ruler who had outlived his noble parents. Still, he bit back angry words, knowing any protest would be futile. For now, he would bide his time and gain what knowledge he could under the Emperor's guidance. When the day came, he, Vrax, would succeed where his forebears fell short. He would carve security and greatness for Xiren from the bleeding carcass of the galaxy. None would threaten his people again. The Emperor studied Vrax's face intently before sighing and rising. "Come then, child. A new dawn awaits." As the Emperor extended his hand to lead Vrax away, the boy lifted his eyes. In that moment, the Emperor felt a chill slash through his heart. Vrax's voice was chillingly measured. "My mother said we would always be safe under your reign." The Emperor struggled not to recoil from the accusation in those words. Evil hides in shadows no light can pierce. Then perhaps the shadows warrant further exploration. Vrax's gaze contained depths colder and darker than the void between stars. Emotions swirled in those young eyes, loss, rage, resentment. But most disturbing to the Emperor was the utter lack of light or innocence. It was like staring into a bottomless abyss from which no warmth or hope could emerge. The Emperor saw Vrax's wounds ran deeper than any soothing words or acts of compassion could heal. In those eyes, the seeds of darkness had already taken root. The Emperor did not know how to describe the ominous feeling creeping over him. It was unlike the tangible presence of any enemy he had faced before. This was a sickening emptiness, a future threat, yet intangible.